Module 4, Lesson 13 and 14 moves us into writing division expressions. So what we have been looking at is looking how to write addition or subtraction expressions. Now we're moving into the next operation, which is division. So these are all the division symbols that are out there. They can be a fraction, they can be the slash for a fraction, the division sign, or you can use the long division box. We have our dividend over the divisor. So our dividend is the number that we are dividing. The divisor is what we're dividing by. And then this is how it would look if you chose to write it as a fraction with a slash. Dividend divided by the divisor is how you'd write it with the division symbol. And then using the algorithm, the dividend goes on the inside, the divisor is on the outside. A quotient is the solution to a division expression. So whenever you hear quotient, they're just wanting you to divide. So we have 4 divided by 2. We could write that as 4 divided by 2, 4 over 2, or 4 divided by 2. What you read first is what you write first. So 4 divided by 2 means 4 is going to be the first thing in the division, or 4 is going to be the numerator, or 4 is going to be on the inside of our box. Now, with a variable, we have m divided by 7. So we have m divided by 7, or m over 7. Or you could write it as m divided by 7. The next statement, find the quotient of 3 and m, would just be 3 divided by m, 3 over m, or 3 divided by m, like that. And then lastly, the quantity, so this just means number. This also signifies to you that you need to be doing parentheses. It means that they're wanting you to find a total of something before you do something else. So a quantity of, I put my parentheses in, 7 minus 2 is written as 7 minus 2, and then it's divided by 2. So the way we would write that is 7 minus 2 divided by 2, or 7 minus 2 over 2, or you could even put it inside the algorithm, though we usually would not, 7 minus 2 divided by 2. So those are the ways that you could write that. Now what I'd like you to do is turn to lesson 13. We are going to do lesson 13 and 14 together, so some pieces I have combined. Just make sure you're listening so you know what we're doing. All right, lesson 13. It says, write an expression showing 1 divided by 2 without the use of a division symbol. What I'm going to do is show you how to do this as a model. And this is lesson 13, is how we're beginning. So the way we'd show the model is we have our entire box here. So this is my entire box, and it's a 1. And that's why I have that 1 right there. And dividing by 2, I just break it off. And this is 1 out of the 2 that I broke it into. And so what we can determine from the model is that 1 divided by 2 equals a half. Now remember, there are multiple ways to show division. 1 divided by 2 is the same as 1 over 2. So these are our ways of showing 2 of the ways that you can show that division happening. Your next example, it says, write an expression showing a divided by 2 without the use of a division symbol. We're going to do the same thing again. We have a box. The whole box is a. Divided by 2, we break it into 2 groups. And that would be a broken into 2 groups. And we have a divided by 2 is the same as a over 2. Again, we can write it with the division symbol, or we can write it as a fraction. They mean the same thing. So our next sentence, it says, when we write a division expression using the division symbol, we are representing dividend divided by divisor. So dividend divided by divisor would be dividend divisor. And as a fraction, dividend over divisor is how you demonstrate that. So let's go ahead and go to example 3. We are going to skip A because we will do A when we are in lesson 14. So B, write an expression for G divided by the quantity. Like I told you in your notes, quantity means you're going to put parentheses in. So G divided by the quantity H plus 3. This could also be written as G over H plus 3. Those mean the same thing. The next one, write an expression for the quotient of the quantity. Again, it says quantity, so I know I'm going to be using parentheses first. M reduced by 3. Reduced is subtraction. So this is parentheses M minus 3 divided by, because it says quotient here, that means division. It goes where the and is, 5. Or you can write it as M minus 3 over 5. This means the same thing. And again, when you see that quotient, you want to look at where the and is, or when it says divided. Let's go ahead and go on down to our exercises. These I'm going to do with you, and then your problem set you'll do on your own. We're not doing A, B, and C. We'll do that in lesson 14. We have the quotient of 6 and M. Again, quotient, find your and, that's where your division goes, and that's 6 divided by M or 6 over M. And then we have 7 divided by the quantity. Quantity means parentheses, X plus Y. Now, I had to add my parentheses so that I would add before I did my division, because with the order of operations, we divide before we add. But with this, they want us to divide by the quantity, and that means they want us to find the answer to this before we do our division. And again, this can also be written as 7 over X plus Y. And put your parentheses there so they know that you do that first. Then we have Y divided by the quantity. Again, add your parentheses, X minus 11. And this can be written as Y over X minus 11. And then we have the sum, so that's addition, of the quantity, which means I do my parentheses, and then I have my divided by 4. So the sum means I'm adding, so that's H plus 3 divided by 4, which is the same as H plus 3 over 4. And our last one here, the quotient of, so I'm looking for that and, so this is where my division will go. But then we have the quantity, which means we have to do our parentheses. So we have K minus 10 divided by M. So we could do it that way, or you can write it as a fraction, just like this. So we're going to go on to lesson 14. You're going to have questions like this in your problem set, so make sure you have this written the way that I wrote it. Lesson 14, it said we're going to just practice writing our expressions in all the forms possible. So this could be the quotient of 15 and 3, or you could say 15 divided by 3. So here are two examples of what they could be. Either one of those would have been okay. 15 divided by 3 looks like that. 15 divided by 3, or 15 over 3. Those all mean the same thing. They're equivalent expressions. Down here, just working on your vocabulary, we're using the words dividend and divisor. So you would have the quotient of the dividend and divisor, or you would say the dividend divided by the divisor. And then the way this would look is dividend divided by the divisor, and you have the dividend divisor on the outside and the dividend over the divisor. On the next page, I'm going to have you actually do these on your own. You will check your work over by me on the table. You have 6 examples of what you are supposed to be solving. You will need to be solving these problems in order to get credit. So the problems are there. We have an 8 divided by 2, a 12 divided by 4. We have a 3 divided by 5. You have an a divided by 4. You have a 6 divided by m, an x divided by y. You'll need to fill in the other equivalencies. And once you check your work with me, then you can move on to that problem set.